Your sexual energy is so fucking powerful, and this is where the training comes in. Learning to masturbate in a way that brings their arousal up into their core. So it's like, fuck, they can really take on the world, and they can really look after their family and their woman, because they're so powerful with their sexual energy. So the positive pole is his cock. He's going to move through the world through his cock energy, which means his heart really needs taking care of. Just like a woman's, but I always say this to women, that women's pussies take a long time to open. Science is saying 20 minutes, but for 5,000 years it's always said 45 minutes. Like truly to be fully open, where she's pulling you in, where your woman's pulling you in, it's about 45 minutes for a pussy to be truly open, which is many different ways. Everyone has a different way of getting to that arousal. So I invite women to always think about their men. That's also for their heart. Their heart takes a lot to open. It's very guarded. They will only, it takes a lot to get into this.
Back to the Ask Women podcast. We have a really exciting episode today because we're talking about arousal. I am one of your co-hosts, Kristen Carney from KristenandChillDating.com. And of course, with me is my wonderful co-host, Marnie from the Wing Girl Method, and our guest today, who knows all about arousal and is going to tell you there's so many different ways to penetrate or to have sex without penetration, essentially, Melissa Louise. And she's a leading expert, pleasure advocate, erotic blueprint coach, and sex, intimacy, and relationship expert. Sorry, it's a mouthful, but guys should be used to having a mouthful after this episode, because they're going to learn so much with moves. So thanks for coming on and joining us.
Oh my goodness, it's so my pleasure. I'm really excited for today's conversation. So yes.
Yeah. I'm excited too. I don't know if Kristen is. I just have to tell a quick story about Kristen. When we first started doing this podcast like a cajillion years ago, I mean, not that you're not still prude now, but back then you were extremely prude and afraid of sin and God like striking you down for even mouthing the word sex. Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting in front of a letter that is written by my grandfather.
Right, exactly.
Talking about this stuff.
Cover
it's like,
it
no,
up,
Grandpa, don't listen.
Cover it up. Yeah. But we had this one episode where we had this porn star named Ryan Keeley on, and she was talking about like tasting your own vagina, and Kristen nearly had a stroke because she's like, I can't even listen to this stuff. It's too
I didn't know that was a thing. And she's like, you've never tasted it? Like she was asking me like, yeah, I mean, you guys say it like it's tasting lemonade. Like who's just tasting their own? It's almost like it's not water.
Like you don't do that once a week. I wouldn't say this is a common thing, like a rite of passage. When you have your period, women are like, oh, now you have to taste your vagina. I don't think it's a very common thing that, but I just think.
What world you walk in?
I mean, if I want fish, I'll go out for dinner. I don't
go to Whole Foods and get some salmon. but so this is just so wonderful because I feel like, years later, you're slightly less uncomfortable with this topic.
I still play it up like I'm uncomfortable for the sake of it, but I do enjoy some really intense sexual stuff.
There you go. That's a whole other episode for us. So Melissa,
but I'm going to pretend I don't.
Yes, I want to talk about the world that you live in, where these things are so normal, and then I do want to talk to you about the not even the styles, the types, like all the different ways that men can arouse women and provide pleasure. Because as you were saying before we started our show, so many people just think there's like the penis and the vagina and that's what you do. But you were saying there's like a million different other ways that guys can provide pleasure. So let's start talking about your history, why you're able to talk to us about this stuff, who you are, and then we'll dive into the different styles of arousal.
Yeah, thank you. So my history, I mean, I love this question about how did I get into do what I do? It's because we're all raised. I mean, I was raised in, rural Australia, Christian family. So all of life is about making sure you're acceptable. Like, especially as a woman, don't laugh too loud, cross your legs. Don't be fabulous and amazing because you won't get picked because you won't be safe enough to be picked because you need to get a husband. Now, when we look at that, man, woman, husband, children, family, well, what the fuck are we doing? We're going to be having sex, but you can't talk about it. And then if anything goes wrong with the sex, well, it's going to be your fault. Like all of this bullshit. I'm like, the whole world is tethered towards winning and being acceptable. So you get a partner, so you start having sex. Because otherwise you go on Craigslist going, okay, I want someone that I can go into debt with, that we're going to live together and probably not like each other that much, but we're going to like, do all of this stuff to have a life, to have children. Is no, you get together with someone to start being intimate, to grow. And, monogamy these days is all around love and sex, which it wasn't originally. But this whole subject is the huge fucking pink elephant in the room, that we live our lives with the cars we choose, the jobs we choose, the clothes we wear, is all about making sure we get seen and chosen to have sex. But we're not, but no one talks about it. Right. No one talks about it. And so then what's the divorce courts filled with? People divorcing over, we don't have sex anymore. That's where it all starts. I mean, I know there's other reasons, but then if we look at infidelity, it's a very strange word to me, but, people get punished for getting sex elsewhere. Well, what the fuck was wrong with, why were you not putting all of this energy into the sex between you? So that's why I do what I do. It's like, let's talk about the huge effing pink elephant in the room, that everything's about sex except for sex. All of our advertising, everything, every TV show, everything is about sex, but we're not going to talk about it. And right. I don't do that rubbish. I'm like, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, because I think that helps, even what we were just saying in the beginning of the show, like, many years later, Kristen, because she's talking about it and we talk about it quite often, and she's exposed to it and she does it as well. Before she was doing it with her one boyfriend too. I don't think you were doing it a lot back then, but now you've done it much more since then. It normalizes it. It creates a higher comfort level.
But so for the record, I still have not tasted, and I will never taste.
Your vagina.
Honey.
Never.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I don't need to taste it either.
I don't have a breath mint strong enough to counteract the...
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Lots of pineapple, honey. If it's that strong and it's like, then okay, start eating things that make it sweet.
Actually, let me just ask you, why? Like, why do you taste it? Like, what is the appeal for a woman tasting her own?
It's like, in our world, there's 8 billion different people in the world, and all of these different things turn. This is the other thing too. It's like, if it's such an aversion for you, and and that's your huge boundary, then that's your huge boundary. So then trying to understand. For me,
I mean, he can.
Yeah. And beautiful. But to me, it's really erotic. And for some people, I find it really erotic. And I look after myself really well. So there's no aversion to my taste. And
that's
there's
the thing.
also,
I don't shower much.
It's a really erotic thing between my lover and I. Like when he hands me his fingers. It's just like.
Yeah, okay. I can totally get that. Yeah. I've just, never. Yeah,
I would throw up in my husband's face if he was like, no, put those things away. Like, I don't find that erotic. Go do the dishes, go clean up your socks. That's erotic for me.
Yum, that whole thing. If it's not for you and it's a complete shutdown, then that's the other thing too. It's like So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, let's talk to the guys who are listening. Okay. Mm-hmm. So as we're pointing out to them, there are 3 women here with different levels of comfort, different visuals for pleasure. I don't even know or different categories or different ways to be pleasured, and different views on what is pleasurable, what's acceptable, what is wanted, what is not wanted.
And still also very into it too.
And still very into it. Exactly. Right. All 3 of us are into sex. We like doing it. There's no disagreements there. Okay. How do men talk about these things, either with a long-term partner or even with a new partner of theirs? Because they may come up against women who are shameful about sex. They may come up against women who are uncomfortable with talking about sex. They may come up against women who have never been talked to about sex or asked about their wants. So how can men help explore for themselves, number one, but then help explore the women that they're going to be sleeping with or sleeping with already?
Yeah, it's really interesting, this question, because it brings to light that so many people are willing to take part in something that they can't talk about. And that's really frightening. For me, that is frightening.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not going to let someone drive your manual car if they've never fucking driven a car. But we are accepting that we can have sex with one another without talking about it, without looking at our parts and turning the lights off. Like, to me, that's mind-boggling, that we are raised in a world that accepts that. So how can a man, we make it non-negotiable. If you're taking a girl out on a date and then you're on the second or third date, you need to talk. And I know, and I speak to many men that go, well, I ask her and she doesn't know. And it's like, so you wait. And then you go slowly. It's like, okay, is this touch okay? I'm not going to enter you without you saying yes. I'm going to ask you before I enter you. And so many women are like, oh no, just do it. It's like, no. Like for men, like the men that I work with and the men in my life, it's like this is where they get to hold this incredible space of really being a healthy masculine energy in a woman's life. Because if you do have a woman that you're about to go to bed with and she doesn't know her own body and she doesn't want to talk about it, she's coming from a trauma. She's coming from trauma based where she was raised, where it's not okay to speak about it. It's like if she does speak about it and if she knows that she loves sex and she actually shares that, then she's going to be ashamed of that. I mean, that's trauma. That's not normal. That's just fucking trauma. We have bodies. We're here because of sex. So,
well, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. So for me, I would even say, like, my response to talking about sex, I wouldn't consider it trauma for me. It's just lack of experience of talking about sex or the perceived discomfort of the other person. Yeah. Like that's where it comes from for me. I talk about sex quite often. But if someone were to ask me, what do I like sexually? I still would even say that my response would be limited. Not because I don't know that all these things exist out there, but because my actual lived experience is still minimal. Right. So like, it's not always necessarily, I'd believe it's not always necessarily from trauma. It really is just from lack of the language, lack of the know-how, and lack of experience. Right. Or even just like having people around you who are comfortable talking about sex and having suggestions being made that are also accepted on the other side.
So that's the conversation. When I'm talking about trauma, about going, oh no, I don't know, and I don't want to look at myself, and you make the decisions for me. Right. To me, that's a shutdown around the own body. So if we're looking at how to have the conversation, then everything's curiosity and information. And it's also looking at what is sex? Sex is how we satiate our desires. So having a game of touch can be very sensual and sexual, but there may not be penetration. So if a man is with with his lover, with his partner, or with a new lover, it's asking those questions like, okay, well, why don't we discover together? What do you think about this? Would you be comfortable with me? If he's not getting information from her, it's like, okay, how about this? Would you be comfortable with me blindfolding you and then just massaging and kissing your thighs for half an hour? And you let me know, like, if it's too much. You let me know. You've got to give me feedback. That's another thing when we're looking at intimacy, touch, penetration, sex, and the act is happening, but there's silence. So you're not knowing, is it okay? And men are also conditioned, when we look at pornography, and conditioned to just go and do the thing, just do it. And women are conditioned through those sort of visuals just to receive it. Whereas supposed to go, please slow down, or ouch, that hurts, or can you go further, or like keep going. Like we're, to be communicating during, it's like, I need to hear from you. Like, let me know, is that okay? We need to be broadening the way that we're, like, our concept of communication within touch and the act. So if we look at sex satiate our desires, there's so many different ways to satiate desires and bring up arousal and have fun and play. That's not just penetration.
Okay. So like what?
Like what? Lots of blindfolding, feeding, learning to do shibari rope tying. If people are really energetic, there's also the wording. You can be in a room opposite one another, be fully clothed. And if someone is really highly energetic and you're really pulling in gazes or you're messaging them what to do, like, people can get so turned on being told what to do. And this requires conversations. You can't just like, oh, she's pretty, and start eye gazing with her and start trying to do things. This all requires conversation, just like the rest of the work, the rest of our life requires information. Having a completely erotic play date that's just for one, where she's just completely honored, where she's blindfolded, where she's kissed and she's nibbled, and there's using feathers and feeding her and then licking her and doing
all of this sounds like a very sexually educated man. doing these things as well, right? So I want to take a step back for a second. So maybe let's speak to the men, because I wouldn't even say that many of these men know that leading in this direction is possible, right? That they may not even be comfortable sexually with themselves. So maybe let's start with the men first. Like I'm speaking for the men that are listening, and I don't know if they're all like, yeah, I know exactly what I want and I want to lead down this path. And then therefore the advice that you gave of having conversations and easing into it. But I think the biggest thing that I took from what you said is just owning the fact that this is how you have sex, and you're very respectful and open to hearing how the other person has sex.
Yeah.
But for Kristen,
as a neurotic person, I have to ask, obviously I know a feather situation that's probably happening when you've been with this person before, or but a guy on a first date, he's into feathers. Like, how do you just whip out a feather? Like, or toys or things like that? Do you not do anything? Like, is he a magician just pulling a bird out of his hat and then he plucks a feather and then they get into it? How do you, on a first encounter, get into that kind of stuff? Or do you not on a first encounter and you leave all the toys at home?
Yeah, it's a great question. Everyone's different. I mean, yes, it can happen on a first encounter. How does this happen? Is you have a conversation to begin with. And I can give you a really incredible example that's happened really recently for me. Is you have first date talking about, like, you're sitting in front of each other doing 5 minutes of eye gazing, and then asking, what's something, tell me something that turns you on. And they tell you, and you say thank you. And then the other person says, tell me something that turns you on. So you tell them, and you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This is on a first date. As I said before, it's like when you're talking about, not having the skills, we also need to open up the conversation that if we're wanting to be having sex, and it is required to go and get skills. Just like if we open a new business, and okay, now you have to learn to Instagram. Okay, now we're going to do a blog. Okay, it's like everyone learns how to do business. And if someone's going to go onto a sports team and they're going to play sports every week, they fucking practice every week, and they're willing to, okay, if I do a high protein diet, okay, I'm going to do ice baths, I'm going to do saunas. We need to take that kind of dedication into our sex lives. Like, it's to me, it's like we have to have this conversation. It's like going towards someone without skills but expecting to have sex in a way that is going to be really satisfying for both parties, because everyone has different maps of arousal, everyone has different ways that they like. Then this is, and I know we're not going to change it in 2025, but every year in the next few decades, we need to bring this type of conversing into the one thing that we're all trying to get. So why not have skills? So then we have these communication containers of asking, tell me a way that I could turn you on. Tell me something that you like. So when and it's also not expecting the guy has to have everything, but why not have a bag of, there's, a beautiful satin thing. It's like if a plumber's going to fix someone's house, he takes a whole fucking toolkit of what things. It's like, if you're going to go and have sex with a woman, why not have a silk blindfold? And why not have chocolate? And why not? Everyone rocks up with a bottle of wine to, bring down the nerves. Why not have other things?
It is kind of like a plumber, though, because you will be showing butt crack at some point. So it totally makes sense.
Right? Yeah. So to normalize all of this and to have conversations about it, of course, just to suddenly, if you're someone that does have a paddle or a whip, or you do want to tie, you've been studying shibari rope tying, or you know how to do a good knot, and you want to tie someone's hands, you don't just tie their hands. You've got to ask, is this something okay? Is this okay by you? I need you, I need you to have this safe word. What's the safe word for you? So if it's too tight, and if we are making love and we're fucking and whatever, I need to know from you when it's gone too far. Like,
what about gauging women who, like me, for example, I don't like giving consent. Like, that's a turn on to me.
Awesome.
And there's so there's a category of, I don't know if it's kink or what you would call it, but it's called free use. And it's just like you're doing the dishes and all of a sudden there he is. I find that like a huge turn on. Obviously, I do that with a boyfriend or someone that I'm already with. But there's a way to basically say, do you like me asking for consent or do you not? Like, because if a guy said to me, like, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? To me, that would be a turn off.
Yeah, me too.
And I
But
feel
then
bad
that's
for
what you
men
let
because
him know. Yeah.
Right. Because we all have
And
so
you would
many
give
different
him full-
preferences.
Yeah. And you would give him pull from it. That is the beginning of a conversation. If you were to start, I mean, your partner obviously knows this because he knows this. You've conversed about it. But if you were to start and have a new lover, then you would let him know, this is something that really works for me. You know,
Right.
this works for me. But also too, it's like, so that he feels really safe and he knows full access, you would, I mean, in the perfect world, and you know, if that was something that I would be supporting clients with, it's like, but there would be one word that when everything got too much, you would use that word. It would be red or orange, yeah. So he would know that he can just fucking go for it until you say that word, because he's fully trusting you to look after yourself, because
Right.
your pleasure is your responsibility. So it's your responsibility to give all of the information that he needs to know for the playing field. So then he has full access to you until you say that word. And that word mightn't come out for months, or it might come out. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you would have that safety net or that safety realm that it's like, yeah, full access until that word comes out. And then
Right.
then that's it. That's a playing field, and that is a conversation. And that's
Yeah.
fantastic. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to go. I do want to take a break, but I want to come back to talking about like the guys, because I think that that's actually the not the better conversation, but I think that that's the more helpful for men to be listening to, is like, how can they explore things sexually, and then how can they convey that information to the women in their lives. So let's take a quick break here from our sponsors, and then we're going to dive into it. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, we are back, and I'm really curious on how we can help these men figure out what they're into, because I'll say this: I would say most people know that there is conventional sex, and that's what they assume the other person is into, unless they're a part of another world where, you know, and another community where sex is more openly talked about. And I feel like that's like baby stepping into things with new partners in your life. How do the men for themselves explore all of these other options that are out there? How do they figure out what they're into?
They do research, and they can, yeah, it's like doing research. Porn is not the way to find out. I mean, porn is very, you know, male centric, one way of having sex, and there's no boundaries and consent in the majority of porn that men watch. You know, they take, they have, they do. And it's also very, very short. The other thing is like on both parties, but especially for men, it's learning to masturbate really well. Yeah, self pleasure. And it's not always like we need to, it's just like everything else with sports. You would practice sports, you practice if you're a goalkeeper or you're on a soccer team. All during the week, you're dribbling, you're practicing shots, you are training. You got to do the same thing with your cock. It's like masturbate really well so you can last longer. Masturbate so that you're not ejaculating every time there's arousal. Learning your point of no return. Really learning to understand where your sexual energy moves through your body. What works for you, what doesn't work for you, so that you can also hold the space and last a lot longer with the women, so that you're not just needing to have sex to you know, oh shit, I'm going to quickly ejaculate, or oh my God, like having to go and have penetration because you've got arousal. You know, it is up to a man to really train, if we want to use that word, to train his sexual response. Because if he wants to be having sex with a woman, then you need to understand the woman's body. And for a man to be having sex with a woman means he needs to last longer, because a woman's body is completely opposite to a man's body. And so then if a guy wants to go into kink and he wants to actually tie up a woman, he goes, go and learn how to tie properly. Go and do the training, just like you would learn how to drive a car. That's a manual, not an automatic. If you're going to go towards with a woman with an invitation, I would love to tie you up. And even if like there's a couple and it's like, let's learn this. There's so many YouTube, you know, videos, but get some training, you know, do some research, find stuff out and practice.
Well, I can't not mention who may be a sponsor on this episode. I'm not sure or not, but they do sponsor our show a lot, which is Beducated
Mm.
Beducated, which is an online learning platform for everything sex, and
Yeah.
it's so much better than porn. It
Oh, it's
really
gorgeous. I know
teaches.
that. Yeah.
You've heard of
Yeah, they're instructional
Beducated?
videos. They have over 100 plus instructional
Yeah.
videos of online videos on how to do things for men and for women. And it really shows you like the whole gamut of what the options are for sex. So what if we went over some of those options right now? Because you were saying before, like the maps to arousal. What are some
Yeah.
options for men out there
So
other
let's.
than, yeah,
And what are
penis and vagina?
maps of arousal?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do want to really dive into that. The maps of arousal is a woman's body has a completely opposite map of arousal as a man's body. So a man's arousal, and this is also too where it's so beautiful to understand, especially for women, for men too, because we often are always telling men off and annoyed with men because, oh my God, you just want sex, and you get an erection really quickly and you just want it. But their map of arousal starts at the cock. Their map of arousal starts at their genitals, then their heart. So when they're aroused, then their heart opens and then they come up to the brain. That is the map of their arousal. First, that they see something, boom, they're turned on. Man can come in, he sees his woman, she's like washing the dishes or she's, laying on the, whatever it is, walks in, she walks out of the shower and he's turned on. Whereas generally women, not generally, like women, it's like they can't just see unless they're thinking about their man, unless there's been like text messages and there's been all of this like, oh my God, their brains are turned on. So our map of arousal is opposite. A woman's pussy will not get wet and open until she feels like she's acknowledged, she's seen, there's been some play. So her map of arousal is head, heart, pussy. So when a woman is receiving penetration too quickly and it's painful, it's like the heart is closed and it's like, oh, it's not enough. So for understanding, for a man, if he's going to go towards a woman and he wants sex, he wants to come home. There's nothing wrong with a quick fuck, but you have to do the work to get that. So if you want to come home and like walk into the door and throw your woman on the bed and ravish her, you can't just like ignore her all day, walk in the door and do it. It's like send a text, babe, whatever it is, like, whatever turns her on. Let her know how fucking gorgeous she is. Let her know that you've been thinking about her all day. Let her know that you've been thinking about her pussy this one. Whatever it is, whatever turns her on that works. So then she's thinking about you. It's like, oh, fuck. Oh, he notices me. So that's how you start with her brain. It's like she sees it, she hears it, she reads it, boom. So now her heart starts to open. So he's still walking through with penetrative energy, like he's turned on. He wants his woman when he gets home, but then he's like raising that energy up, like thinking about it, being an adult about it type thing. If we look at third stage relating, like the way to relate to your woman is like, oh, okay, I'm going to work her to open her so I can walk in the door. And then by the time you're driving home and you're at the traffic light, I'm going to be 7 more minutes. You better be on the bed waiting for me and only wearing a pair of underwear. I mean, put up your hands, any woman who wants to. We all want to receive that type of message, but we're turned on because we've been noticed and now we're getting instructions and our heart's open to our man. So our pussy's starting to open. The other thing is our pleasure is our own responsibility. So if that's also a play that you want to take part into, a woman's going to like, she may masturbate a little bit, or she may massage her breast to turn herself on to make sure like when she gets home, fuck yeah, I'm going to be so ready when he walks in the door. So he's moving through with penetrative energy, but he's also thinking, how do I turn my woman on? How do I have her open to me? Like she's got to be open to me. And it starts from here. So often there's a lot of, mismatch, and there's pain and there's annoyance. And, the other thing is men go to sex, like because their map of arousal starts at their genitals, men go to sex to feel connected. They need to, it's like, I need my woman. I need to feel connected with her. But women need to be connected to have sex. This is general. There's 8 billion people in the world. We can't say it's 100.
Right.
So understanding that too, and this is where I love sharing this with women, it's like your man's not an arsehole by just wanting sex. He's actually, what else? Is like, this is where we also have to, enlarge our vocabulary, like have more words available to ourselves when we're going to our partner. It's like he's going to you for sex because he needs to feel connected. And so that's also really beautiful for a man to share. It's like, babe, I want to have sex with you. What do you need from me? What can I do? Let me get a babysitter for the kids. I'm going to pick you up at 7, wear this dress. I'm taking you for dinner, a light dinner. It's like if you want to have sex and you haven't connected with your woman for a while, share that. but also create the scenario that allows her to be really open to you. And for any woman that's receiving that from a man, it's like, oh, fuck yeah, we haven't connected for 7 or 8 days. Of course he's coming to me. And then we're responsible for our own pleasure. We have a boundary. It's like, oh, babe, fuck yeah. I would love to have sex with you tonight. The kids need to be looked after. Or, as a man, go and start a bath for her. Come into the house. Yeah, you want to fuck your woman in the next hour or so. You walk in, she's got kids, dishes, whatever. She's been working all day. Go and run a bath. And make it a requirement that she goes into the bath.
Mm-hmm.
Babe, I've poured you a bath. Come on, and you pull her in and you say, everything's okay. I'm going to take care of everything. I'm going to take care of everything. You just relax. Because a woman's body needs to be relaxed. This is the opposition.
Right. And if she has a million things going through her head about all the responsibility that she has, she can't think about your penis.
Yeah. So, and this is when we think of that penetrative energy. So we collect information. We're always collecting. Whereas a man's penetrative. He walks into the house, sees his woman, he wants to have sex. He can forget everything else, really. We can't. Right. Because of we're estrogen flooded in the brain. So that's why putting her in the bath or just holding her, walking into the house, she's frazzled. Just bring her in and breathe deeply and hold her, because men are stronger and bigger in general sense than, their bone density. So for a man to hold his woman, she's going to relax. Like, keep breathing deeply until she's relaxed and say, babe, what do you need? I'm going to pour you a glass of wine. I'm going to make you a cup of tea. I'm going to pour you a bath. No. It's all good. I'm going to take care of everything.
Yeah, I've got it. I'll take care of you.
I've got it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, okay,
yeah,
and within an hour, she's ready, and go and massage her, and you take it whatever. So with this penetrative energy of a man where he wants to have sex, that's that part of raising his sexual energy up, like thinking, raising up his heart's open to his woman into, okay, how can I create the environment so that I can have sex with my woman?
Yeah.
So then you're going towards her head so that her pussy starts to open. And the other thing is to understand that's when we think of that, the Taoists talk about that, the maps of arousal, the complete opposite. The Tantric speak about it, about positive poles and negative poles. So a man's cock is his positive pole. A woman's heart is her positive pole, where her pussy is her negative pole, and the negative pole for the man is the heart. And so
are you saying pole like Pole or P?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So okay.
So it's
I was wondering if it was that pull or pole. So I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
how it's described in the Tantric way. This is his positive pole. So a man does move through the world. This is also opening up our arousal and what we get turned on to. A man actually moves even through business. Like, what is he aroused to? What is he turned on by? What does he want to do? He penetrates the world through his cock energy. And we shame men all the time for this. Like, we live in a culture that women can't touch their bodies and be sexually open, and men are shamed through their sexual energy. So because we've placed arousal and being turned on by life into this tiny little fucking corner around sex, that's how it's operated for many men. It's like, oh, I'm turned on going to sex. But if we can open up the mind where it's like, oh, you're turned on by that business and you penetrate the world through your sexual energy, but not sexual energy just to ejaculate all over the place and let go and find freedom in. It's like, your sexual energy is so fucking powerful. And this is where the training comes in. Learning to masturbate in a way that brings their arousal up into their core. So it's like, fuck, they can really take on the world and they can really look after their family and their woman, because they're so powerful with their sexual energy. So the positive pole is his cock. He's going to move through the world through his cock energy, which means his heart really needs taking care of. Just like a woman's, I always say this to women, that women's pussies take a long time to open. Science is saying 20 minutes, but for 5,000 years, it's always said 45 minutes. Like, truly to be fully open where she's pulling you in, where your woman's pulling you in, it's about 45 minutes for a pussy to be truly open, which is many different ways. Everyone has a different way of getting to that arousal. So I invite women to always think about their men. That's also for their heart. Their heart takes a lot to open. It's very guarded. They will only, it takes a lot to get into this. Men guard their hearts, just like we guard our pussies. And I think that's really also important for men to understand. It's like, this is it takes a lot to win a man's heart, and it's really beautiful. Just like it takes a lot to open a woman's pussy, and that's really beautiful. Whereas women walk through the world with a positive pole of their heart, they're open. So when we're understanding this opposite, it's this incredible dance. It's everything's information and curiosity. That's another thing about sex. It's kind of like, well, if I do it, I've got to get it right. We don't go through the world like that. We fuck up with parenting. We fuck up with soccer. We fuck up with everything. We go to make a lasagna.
Right, but most people don't want to. They don't want to fuck up. They just end up fucking up, right? So you always want to know how to do it right in the very beginning. You're like, what actually works to do? So I understand that desire, but I agree with you. Most of us fumble most of the time, and it's on both ends where the woman's fumbling as well.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because I love everything that you're saying, and when you're speaking to like long-term partnerships, how do men bring this to a new relationship or to a woman that
A
they're
first
dating?
date.
Yeah, how do you bring that to a first date? Like, how do you still have that leading towards a bathtub kind of energy when it comes to sex, where you're not turning somebody off because a woman's thinking you're like too hypersexualized right now? Like, how do you ease in to that stance of sexuality? And I know that's a big question, but
I mean, a lot of guys are worried to even kiss on the first date, let alone get sexual. So it is a tricky thing.
It's such a great question. And because we have all of this in our brains, we speak it out loud. So on a first date, I say to men, it's like you're on a first date. So speak about it. Say to you, even to be really honest, because I live in a town here in Mexico where it's very tourist based. Yeah. So often you are on dates, they're leaving the next day, they're leaving next week, whatever. So be really honest. Like if you're taking a woman out on this one date and you believe it's going to be a one night stand, it's like you're really interested tonight, but you're not interested. Fucking be truthful. Say, you know what, honey? I think you're fucking gorgeous. And I'm so happy to be here. I would love to hear your idea of like what it is that you're hoping from tonight, because I want to tell you what my idea is. Because otherwise we're moving forward with basically manipulation, coercion, and assumptions where we're not speaking out the truth. Now, a man that's going to be truthful, yes, it takes courage, but bring on courage. We need more courage in the world. And when I speak to any woman, and especially my friends, I would much prefer have a man say, you know what, babe, I'm so happy to be with you here tonight. And for me, this is just going to be a one night stand. I leave tomorrow, so this is just tonight. What are you comfortable with knowing that information? Now I have all the information that I need to make a decision. And I would, myself personally, I'm like, oh my God, like I love truth. I'm like, yeah, I would love to think about that. I'm going to circle back to this in about half an hour. I just need how it feels in my body. Or you can have a woman's going, that's not okay for me because I feel so rushed. And then the guy gets to go, thank you, awesome. Now they both know. Or it's like, do you know what? Fuck yeah. If we've only got tonight together, why the fuck are we out for dinner? Let's just like wrap this up. It's like, okay, what are you up to? Can I kiss you tonight? Or even the guy might say, do you know what? I'm really open to kissing you tonight, but I'd love to see you again. Are you okay if I kiss you tonight? And the woman gets to say yes or no. And a lot of people say, oh, that's not very sexy. But you know what's not fucking sexy? Is going for a kiss and the woman going like that. Now there's shut down. Now there's embarrassment. Now there's shame. Shame is not sexy. Embarrassment is not sexy. There's something so sexy to have a man lean in and go, I know this is our first date together, but fuck, I'd love to kiss you right now. I'm just like, yeah, go on. Or, I'm going to make you wait for an hour. Okay. And now there's sexual tension. And when you're like speaking about stuff like that, then how, that's your first base type thing, or first base, that's like, we're getting a proof of concept. It's like, okay, I can bring up a kiss and she's playful. And it's like, so if I were to see you again, I'm going to take you out in 2-3 days time. Would you be comfortable in coming to my house? And would you be comfortable with this? Like, would you be, and it's like, fucking talk about it. It's like, boom. Because if we're not going to talk about it, now we're gauging someone's reaction and we're making an assumption of it. And
without information.
Without information.
Yeah.
Asking
well,
someone
so Kristen, for you, would you, like, let's say on a date, would you be open to that kind of communication? And I will say, for one thing, what you kind of highlighted too, Melissa, but I don't know if that was heard by the listeners was that you kind of get a gauge for where the date is at when you make statements like that. Because if the woman's like, no, right, then you're like, okay, then we're not having the connection that I thought we were having. Or there's more work to be done on my end so that she gets to that space where she's more open to it. It's not necessarily a complete shutdown and saying, I'm not attracted to you. It's just saying, I'm not feeling that just yet. Is
also,
that my phone?
the responsibility is up to the, you know, being asked that question. Like when a man asks that question, he's not responsible for her. She's responsible for telling the truth. You know, it's like,
right.
Do you know what? I really like you, and I want to keep on seeing you. I would love to have another date with you for how, you know, but I don't kiss on the first date. And so now he's like, okay, awesome.
No, then there we are. We don't kiss on the first date, which means
Kiss
you
on the
kiss on the
date,
second
you
date.
know?
If I don't get a kiss on the second date, it means you're not interested in me. Yeah. It's just giving you more information and it's more transparency. And actually, the way that you said it was very sexy and attractive.
Oh my
and it
God.
was very masculine. Yeah. So it was good. So, Kristen, so for you, how would you respond to that?
If a guy said what exactly? I'm forgetting
Any
the
of
line
those
at this
things.
point.
Any of those things. Like even about the kiss, like I'm having a great time with you. I really want to kiss you right now.
You
What
know,
do you think
it
about
just
that?
it all depends on how I'm feeling about the guy.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
you know, with my ex, it was like the moment we locked eyes, I was like, "Oh my God, take me to your room right now." And then there's other guys where, you know, they're putting out that energy and we're having a decent time and they might think I feel that energy, but I don't, you know, and so I do feel bad for men. It is hard to gauge. So I can look like I'm having a nice enough time, but for me, it would feel a little heavy-handed unless I was making very clear signs that I was very into him.
But the benefit to the man is that he would know.
He would know, absolutely.
Right? He
And
wouldn't walk
so,
away saying we had a great time. He would walk away saying, oh, she didn't want to kiss me. She wasn't feeling the same thing that I was. So that it's not built up in his head that I've got another date locked in. So right? That's kind of what you're saying. You're saying if you were not into it, you would not say yes.
Yeah, and I would prefer the guy say something than either act awkward, dance around the topic, or just go for it without, you know, like I said earlier, not to contradict myself, but like I said earlier, I don't love consent, but that's with somebody that I'm already with. But if I would say the safest bet, of course, is to say something like you said, and then just give you the option. And it is a little bit of a turn on in a sense, or it could absolutely tip the scales, or it's you get your answer. You don't have to wonder.
Yeah, I think so
Can
too.
I just point something out? Because I can sort of feel in the ether of like when men are listening to this, there's the one, you know, when we look at the opposing from men and women are really afraid. Like our biggest fear is that a man will hurt us. Like if we go out in the world, is like our fear towards men is that we're going to be physically hurt, like by strangers, anything. And the reason I'm saying that because the opposite is the biggest fear of men is that a woman will laugh at him. Like that same amount of fear that women have around physical violence and, you know, not being able to, you know, defend themselves. Men have that same amount of charge around being laughed at.
Yeah.
So because
women have so easily done it many
we
times to them.
Oh,
yeah.
Men are so emasculate. It's one of my biggest works with women is like supporting them not to, like what it looks like to emasculate a man. And that's why I'm saying this is why their heart is their negative pole. So they keep it closed and we go in there emasculating men. It's so painful. Huge conversation. So to speak to the men that are sitting there going, there's no fucking way I'd ask. It's going in for the kiss or making an assumption or, you know, then assuming that sex is going to happen. That rejection is so much bigger in the act because especially if a woman's like, oh, fuck, I don't know what to do. And they're like, oh, and then there's this awkwardness. That is so much larger of a rejection because someone saying, no, I don't want to kiss you. That's not a rejection. That's someone looking after their back. That's about them. Their no is not about you. Their no is about them. Maybe she's uncomfortable. Maybe she's nervous. Maybe she's scared. And this is another thing. I know I've heard this from women before. It's like, and because I sort of say this out loud now, it's like having to remember what it used to be like when I was younger. A lot of women think that, well, if I kiss him, he's then going to expect sex. So a woman saying no to a kiss could also be, she's probably saying no to sex. She's not saying no to the kiss. So this is all of those things. It's like even going, I want you to know that I'm not, tonight I would just love to kiss you and take you. I would just love to drop you off at your door and leave you with a kiss. I mean, how much information is that? Oh, great. He's not expecting sex from me. He's going to take me home, look after me, and I'm really safe. It's like, fuck yeah, I'll kiss you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like also going, okay, let's go a bit wider. So this fear of men being of rejection, which is also what our world with all online and porn is creating, porn watching, and where people are not having these conversations as much, you know, especially with the generations coming up. Like I've got a 19-year-old son, and I'm just like, the amount of life they have in voice messages as opposed to instead of in front of face of each other.
Yeah, where you have to figure out what these things mean. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like this rejection of like experiencing rejection, experiencing a shutdown isn't actually a lot of the times about you as a man. It's what's going on for her.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that because I can feel men just go, I'm not going to ask that. But if you don't ask it and you go for it, now the uncomfortability of the rejection, even on her side, is going to, you know, she may just completely shut down. Because as much as men are nervous, women are also, we're all nervous.
Yeah, we're all nervous. And one thing to add to what you were saying before is that her reaction has nothing to do with you. So I have a story from when I was like 13 years old. And this one guy came into my cabin at camp in the middle of the night with like all of his friends, and he asked me out, and I made a joke that was very harsh towards him. And I feel bad to this day. I got to apologize like years later for making it, but I made the joke because I was uncomfortable. He asked me to go out with him in front of a ton of people. I didn't know what to say. I felt like it was funnier and I would earn some clout for saying it because I didn't want to say yes to him, right? And I couldn't just say, no, I don't really like you. I said something quite insulting to him. I said, like, wouldn't your boyfriend be mad? Like, that's the most insulting thing to say to a 13-year-old boy, right? It's awful. It's absolutely awful. So I'm just saying, like, most of what and how we respond has to do with us, and it's because we're uncomfortable being honest. We want to be seen as funny. We want to be seen as unshaken by any of this. It's our internal stuff that's going on, not necessarily our reaction to you. It could be the reaction of I'm not into you and I don't know how to handle it, which could be true, but that's not something to feel as scorned by. But if there's anything negative, like laughing or insulting or saying, why would you think I would want to kiss you? Or like a ugh face, whatever it is, that's her stuff. It's hard to not take it personally, but it is her stuff. And the more that you can hold that space, kind of like how you gave the example, when you're like, I'd like to kiss you right now. And she says, oh no, I'm not ready for that. You can just go, okay. And you sit back and you say, that just means you're not ready right now. Until you tell me no explicitly, this is not going to go anywhere. I'm going to take it as this is a no for right now, and we're going to continue on our way. So
the roofie hasn't kicked in yet is essentially what she's saying. Sorry. I mean, politically incorrect jokes. That's my style.
You know, I love that story that you just gave, because it's also, if we, you know, just that scenario, which life has these big scenarios, there's always two sides of the story. And I can imagine this 13-year-old boy coming in, he's needing support. He could have been dared, you know, he could have been dared to come in with all of his friends, or he's got all of his friends there and he's trying to look bigger and get confidence, and he's trying, and it's like, the story is always so huge, and we take that one moment as the truth or as the whole thing. Absolutely. And I'm so happy that you found for me in my work, I'm so happy you found the opportunity to apologize to him, because that's,
oh God. And I still think about it all. I do. I think about that all the time, because it was completely emasculating and completely embarrassing and horrible of me. I got some laughs. I got some clout for it afterwards, but like, and that felt good to me at the time. But then realizing afterwards, actually, he has a sad story too. But but yes, no. But that's the thing, is he was like this wonderful guy. He was always nice, but he was always picked on by people. Anyway, it's very sad. I'm sure he's like super successful now or something on the back end, or that's what I hope for him. But I'm just saying, like, that was my own stuff, right? In reaction to him, I really just I didn't want to say yes to him. I had no interest. I was not giving any indicators that I had interest. And I was bothered that I was woken up at 2:00 in the morning to be asked that question. And so I gave a snarky comment back, and I potentially emasculated him and harmed him for a longer period of time. But you're not thinking about that when you're 13. Sometimes you're not even thinking about that when you're 45, right? You're just thinking about yourself. And so that's like something for men to remember. Not that that's not a bitchy thing to do. It is, but it doesn't necessarily have something to do with you. The grand reaction isn't exactly that reaction to you. It's a reaction to the situation. I'm going to wrap up the show because we're nearing up on the hour now. But Melissa, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about this. I think you gave some really great information to men.
Thank you. Yes,
so how can people get in touch with you or find out more about you?
The best. I mean, at the moment, I'm rebuilding my Instagram account because Instagram. So I've got a new one. But the best, which is Melissa Louise Intimacy. But otherwise, follow me on Substack. The links below, I'll provide that. It was like, get into my Substack because I write a lot. And I think that's really important for people to really get the feel of how I speak and how I share information. And so Substack's where I put all of my information. I do have YouTube as well, Melissa Louise. But yeah, get in on my Substack and follow me on Instagram. And yeah.
Okay, wonderful. All right. And Kristen, thank you for being on. Where can guys go to find out more information about you so they can banter with you and learn how to become banter masters?
The encyclopedia, because that's, I'm a big deal. They can go to kristenandchilldating.com.
Perfect.
And yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. And guys, you can go to winggirlmethod.com for more information on how to become the kind of man that women want to be with. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. To the very end, new episodes of the Ask Women podcast come out really early in the morning on Tuesdays. This is a new thing for us. You guys are awesome. We'll see you next week.